one thing I learned about coaching startups is profitability is always your sole concern, right? Staying in business is your sole concern. First thing you should ask yourself every day before you go too far outside is, am I going to be in business tomorrow?
Yes.
And nothing's more, I think, apparent if you look at even like Jeff Bezos, the richest man in the world. How did he start, right? Selling books in a garage. Businesses evolve if you stay in business and if you focus in on acceleration and growth.
Yes.
So in this case, your profit, there's 6 steps to what you want to do is credibility.
Yes.
So you need to prove credibility in the marketplace, right? That 2, the emotional attachment, you have the need already.
Yes.
3, how do we quantify the reasons that people are going to do that? If you're going to get to profitability, you actually have to put a quantifiable value on the reasons. So when we start looking at monetizing it, whether it's Malaysia, Indonesia, an alternative.
It's pretty much the problem I have is pretty much fundraise because Asia investor is very different.
Yeah.
You're from US, right?
Yeah.
So
although I've raised money, I was with Samsung, I've raised money.
Because for me, the problem is Asians most likely looking really, they want to get profitability very early stage. Invest, you can see Uber, Lyft.
Yeah.
10 years, 15 years, it's okay. But so this is the problem I have because originally I really want to go for brand, right?
Yeah.
Because it's my third pivot. But it's only monetization because right now I have like a clock 50, 100 daily active, like nothing every single day, right?
Yeah.
But I cannot monetize these people because then it will be huge drop off. I don't want to have 10 people on my platform.
Right, and you won't raise money at all. So
that's
no, it's a common problem. Number 1, when to raise money. 2, if to raise money. Or 3, can you pivot the business model to something that actually can raise money?
Yeah.
So if you can't prove that people will pay for it, you're going to have a difficult time raising money.
No, this I can prove. So
right?
That's why I'm thinking like to really go into different markets, to really huge market share. And just put it.
And so what stops you from going into Malaysia, for example?
So I was just thinking, does it make sense? Because my idea is just to go there. So I checked from marketing perspective, I get 5-10 times more clicks, 10 times more traction, right? So I can really prove the idea is working, and then come back with these numbers back to Hong Kong.
Yeah.
So does it make sense?
Makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. You cannot do it here.
Yeah.
You won't be able to do it here, and you can't do it in the US or UK. So I would definitely pick that market, but make sure that you have in your mind what you're trying to quantify with that audience so that you can go ahead and show when you're raising money here to bring it here and it'll make sense and even to other markets. But a lot of people might go in and if you're not very clear on how you can monetize it or not clear on how you can illustrate the monetization, then don't do it yet. Like literally beyond, I always say, can you see any reason you wouldn't want to do it? And if you can answer that question for yourself, then you're ready to move forward.
Awesome.
So cool.
Thank you.
All right, who's next? Critical business issue? Anyone?
Since you're in marketing, because we are about to launch the app, and our next step would be approaching brands to work with us. And I'm just like curious, because like we work with like restaurant and all kinds of like retail business, and then obviously we have limited resources in the beginning. We've been thinking if we want to approach like a bigger brand, which may help us to approach like smaller brands like more easily. But obviously it'd be much more difficult to do that in the beginning because it may take a longer time. So what should be the approach and strategy?
So the strategy I use no matter what in the marketing is to understand that emotional connection, right? Because you can get big brands to do things if you have the right people that are emotionally connected to your solution, service, or product. There's 4 ways that we ask, believe it or not, and it's really simple. People make it so hard. You can meet people in person, like at a show like this. You can communicate via email. I've gotten so many clients off of spam, and I'll tell you how. So email, phone calls, and text messages, that's the same. And then media for me is print, radio, TV, and social media is the amplifier and perpetuator of it. You're wasting money if you don't start with an alternative traditional media because you can always turn that into the social content that you want and enhance it, right? I could take this area here, and it's one thing for many people that see AWS, but I could take that camera, take this meeting with that, a couple sound bites of the best wisdom that I give today, some music, and a little caption, and I can get millions of people to see organically that brand, right? And so radio, print TV, signage, all traditional, then amplify it with social media and perpetuate it. And have a plan to monetize the amplification and perpetuation. So I have several different plans, from the stage that I'm on, meaning that brand right there is on a stage. That's, signage. To what's my monetization plan of amplifying it? So it actually has a true business plan of, all right, I'm gonna spend this much money to amplify it. And then also, okay, how about the perpetuation? What is gonna be my brand's distribution for life? And because social media works that way, that if we're drawing in our funnel up top here, there also should be a funnel that drives backwards to retroactive content that we have, or branding that we have, or messaging that we have, in specific cases where it continually accelerates what we're doing. So if you look at the in-person, on the phone, email, and the media, there's two things that you need to do, and that's it to brand, believe it or not. Number one, give that emotional attachment, but a message of how can I be of value to you? What value am I providing to you? That's the emotional side. There's a mathematical equation that goes in the subconscious and unconscious mind that says, am I getting more than I'm giving? Literally, there's an ego-based consciousness, a scarce energy that says, if I give him $20, am I getting $100 back? And if the answer is yes, people will buy. And a lot of that value is not quantitative of you're making that much money. There's like this emotional reward that it makes me feel good, right? It makes me feel good, so therefore I'll spend the money. And having AirPods is a cool experience, and it has some quantifiable value, but there's an emotional attachment to products that make it thrive. So you start with the value that you provide, and you really make sure that not only do you articulate it correctly, capture it, amplify it, all those things, but that you actually carry the energy that you believe it beyond a reasonable doubt. Like literally, I carry an energy that can you see any reason why you won't want to do this? Like that's what I call the 120 rule. My whole life is, am I providing $100 of value and asking for 20 back? And do I feel it in here, right? So people, it's not what I say, it's how I say it. So that's what's so convincing in the marketing, and not just me saying it on stage, but like my brand says it, or the marketing collateral says it, or the packaging says, wow, this is $100 worth of value and I'm only asking for $20 for it. The second one's more important and nobody does it. And that's the big ask. Like, I guarantee that, sixth grade entrepreneurs here, startups, how many people have you asked today, do you know anyone that can help me? There's literally thousands of people that could help you here. And you showed up here to get help at least, but most of you really didn't know why you're here, what the game plan. I would have had a strategic plan on what am I going to ask Dave Meltzer, how he can help me. But I even softened the question. I ask as many people as I can, do you know anyone that can help me? So as much value as I'll bring you, I might say, hey, do you guys know anyone that can help me? I want you and your friends to share my favorite content. Or I'm launching a book July 16th. Can you guys, pre-order it? Or whatever ask I have. But there's a flow of value that goes on, and we limit what we do because we're not asking people in person, on the phone, via email and social media and regular media, do you know anyone that can help me? Everyone loves to help. You'll become an investment of theirs. And people are very open to it, and you don't have to be so obsequious to the first time you meet them. So, I'm very strategic about, hey, I really like that watch. Now we start what likes and don't likes leads to emotional attachments. Where'd you get that? Oh, I have my fake watch, blah, blah, blah. And then tell me what you're doing. Oh, I have a friend that is in Amsterdam, and I might say, I would love to introduce you to him because he owns a company that may be interesting to you in the event space, of shared event space, but he deals with a lot of renters. Anyway, we go on, and then again, do you know anyone that can help me? I'm looking for this, right? I'm looking for this. Think about it, on average, every person in here has at least, on average, 1,000 people that they're connected to now. That never was true 10 years ago. Most people had 5 people that they could call up and ask, hey, my friend has this, do you know anyone? Now, like this, snap a finger, 1,000 people. So if you just ask one person a day, do you know anyone can help me? You're increasing your network mathematically 31,000 people. One person a day. So that's why I say I get business off of spam, because anybody that spams me via email or text, I haven't asked back. Dude, thank you so much for the information. Do you know what can help me? I'm launching my book. Can you pre-order it? Or do you know someone that would like to pre-order? It's on, better email solicitation, I don't know, whatever. But honestly, I've had people come back. I've literally, one day just to test, I do executive coaching around the world, right? I just want to see how many people would be interested. If I just responded with a cut and paste, are you interested in my one-on-one coaching program? How many people spamming me would say yes? And a surprisingly amount of business came, they're like, yeah, I would be, or my business advisory program. From a spam. I'm taking advantage of the energy of somebody asking for me value, and I'm just turning it around on them as well. So for you here, force yourself to ask for help. Force yourself, if you're doing it, what I do still, right, I've been implementing this for years. I go in my sent box, and at the end of the day, sometimes I just check to see how many asks are in my sent messages, just to see how disciplined I am. Because I know if I'm doing it in my sent box, I'm doing it other places as well. And what gets really aggravating is you'll have opportunities still when you become really good at it that you won't do it. I was just with the CFO or CTO, whatever, of Uber, and I kicked myself. Because honestly, how much money would a sales force pay to get that meeting? And I was totally unprepared. I had no ask, nothing. He's like sitting there and I just say hi. Like, what am I thinking? I should have literally said, hey, I know you guys do a ton of annual meetings. I'm a Forbes top 10 speaker. If you're ever interested, I'd love to speak. I speak on leadership, inspiration, whatever. Can you check out my video? Here's my card. None of that came out of my mouth. And I'm teaching this to you guys. So it's still so much opportunity lost. And then you'll find when you meet an entrepreneur that's successful, it's because they ask.
I have a question around the product when it's free for the users, and then you monetize on the other side in your platform. So then obviously you want users who come back, who try it, and then which is pretty easy because it's free. And then you want them to come back again. That makes it sticky. So in this case, we just say how different is it for you to measure like the willingness to pay, or to look at like the go-to-market? So
there's I call it the 5 to Thrive strategy. And so giving something for free has one purpose, to stimulate interest. So the directive of giving something for free is simply to stimulate interest. You can't, if you don't have the monetization of data, so everybody always get it for free, like LinkedIn, and then eventually of such mass you can provide value and sell a product against it. But literally, if you have a product and you want to give it away for free, then you need to have a plan for the other 4 steps. So I'm going to give you this for free to stimulate your interest. I have to have a mechanism in place to transition the interest to share a true vision, which is a profitable vision, a monetized vision. Then to make it thrive, so step 1 is always stimulate interest. 2, and free isn't the only way to stimulate interest, but I use this philosophy. Then 2 is transition interest. In a normal sale, you might use a phone call to stimulate interest conversation, then I have collateral material that would transition their interest. Then we would have a face-to-face meeting to share a vision. I'd get a verbal from you. You're 20% there. Somebody tells me I'm in verbally, I'm 20% of the way there. Step 4 is the most critical, which is managing and developing a vision, which I don't believe in exceeding expectations. It very rarely happens. Maybe it's because of my dating practices. I've never been able to exceed expectations, even to my wife. So just meet expectations, and a girl's going to be like, oh my God, this guy's incredible, right? Same thing in business. If you meet expectations, right, you're meeting someone's imagination or perception of what they want, that's a huge goal. I always say you're exceeding your own expectations if you can meet expectations. And so I literally think that manage and develop a vision, which I include, once again, it's about quantifying how am I going to take someone from free, transition them to a verbal yes that they're willing to pay, and then more importantly, can I meet the expectations? Because once we do, especially with an emotional connection, people will brag on you. They'll brag on you. It's not just that they'll recommend you, and that's how I believe Apple's been one of the best companies in the world in that transition, because I'm of that age where everyone had, ThinkPads, RIM Blackberries, the corporate world. And all of us were sitting in first class at one time or another, and there was someone next to us, it was taking forever to boot up our laptops, and they just opened up their Mac, and you have that critical question, dude, how can you do business on that? Don't you need, Word and Excel and PowerPoint? And then they tell you, well, it has that. You're like, what? And it opens like that? Oh, and there's no viruses, right? And all of a sudden, then they get you with that product. Next thing you know, the iPhone's out, and you're like, this BlackBerry thing. It just went. And now I find myself with AirPods, I'm sitting in first class, and the guy next to me is like, do you like those? And he's saying what I said. Oh, they fall out, they're not good. Meanwhile, the reason I have AirPods is because my kids and the millennials in my office were like, I will buy them for you. If you don't believe they're going to be good, I'll just buy them because you need them. This will change your life. And then it meets my expectations. And it's not the commercial. I wasn't sold by the commercial. In fact, I watched the commercials and the advertisements going, that's not for me.
So how can you push that? That's basically what typical word of mouth promotion you get.
Yeah.
How can you actually push that? Because we're in the corporate real estate area.
Yeah.
Where quite a bit happens word of mouth. How could you actually push that though?
Yeah. So believe it or not, I use attention as a matter of, for any of these types of problems. So if I ask someone how, obviously in 5 minutes I don't know your business well enough. I couldn't give you an exact way to do it, but I know this, that if I told you and I was coaching you and I said, give me 5 minutes a day, Adrian, 5 minutes a day that you focus in on, pay attention to that issue. 5 minutes a day. 2 minutes a day of meditation is worth 2 hours on a Saturday. Here's how the universe works. And I'm going to get outside of pragmatic business because I believe I'm successful because of my mindset. So I have an issue that bothers me. And I'm like you, I go out there and I'm asking people their opinion, and everyone's blowing smoke up my ass because they have their own individual experience, which is so limited compared to what I'm looking for. And then you're trying to evaluate with some sort of quantitative analysis, is that good advice or not? And then you try it out. Why not harness the real power, the power of the universe? What I do is I pay attention to that. And I myself think about, you started to do it when you're talking about switching marketplaces, that you're actually co-creating, right? If you pay attention, you harness the power of intention. Mathematical coincidences, right? Two angles coincide, it's a mathematical event. But for some reason, people don't believe that when two events coincide or two people coincide, that it's not a mathematical event. I do. And so I utilize my power of focus to pay attention to something which I know draws from a field of intention that holds everything that I want, and the answer is right there. And it's just a matter of so many days, but you have to do it every day because of the way the conscious, subconscious, and unconscious works. The cellular memory goes to the neural pathways, then to the unconscious, and things in the unconscious vibrate faster. There's actually a science to what I'm saying. So if you pray upon, how do I get more referrals from other referrals of mine, word of mouth, how do I create it here? Our perceptions of what other people think about us really control what other people think about us. It really does. So especially in this matter, I want, and I do, I pay attention to the ends of what I want, and I accelerate what I want by paying attention to what I want. And it's amazing how many things come up, because I think of something, then I Google it, and then I'm like, whoa, and then all of a sudden, and then I run into a guy, and I'm like, whoa, this is a guy who just told somebody else, and then coincidentally, it happens, and I'm like, how can I scale that? Now I'm reverse engineering how that referral happened. And now I can systemize that referral, and pretty soon I'm systemizing 10, 15 different methodologies of getting referrals. I hope that is a believable.
So you're utilizing the law of attraction, really?
Yeah. So but my law of attraction is threefold, not like anyone else's. So number one, law of attraction starts with the law of Goya. Law of Goya, get off your ass, right? Do not sit home high, sick, on your mom's couch dreaming about what you want. You got to start with action, right? You get off your ass. Two is the law of attraction. Attraction includes the word action, and that requires focus. Understanding focus is extremely important in the universe and in work. I'll tell you why. So anything in the ego-based consciousness is going to create resistance to what you want. Truth-based consciousness will create effortless, resistance-free life and business. So being aware of when we're in ego-based consciousness. What's ego-based consciousness? Fear. Most people think that fear motivates them. Most entrepreneurs will tell me, fear motivates me, I get stuff done. If I don't have a date, losing my money, I get, people say to me, because I lost over $100 million at one time in my life, like, oh, bottoming out like that, but it really motivated you. No, the fear drained me. It was soul-sucking. What motivates you is it things that inspire you, connecting to people, to circumstances. And here's the interesting thing. Fear, it fools you. Because most people, I can understand why they think fear motivates them. It doesn't, not only does it appreciate you, but what fear does, it has a practical thing, focus. So what happens is, fear focuses us. It's this natural being of ego. So when we're really, really afraid, we get super focused and super powerful. We harness the power of intention. An old grandma can lift the back of a car to save a baby. It happens. This is all through focus. So what I focus in on is, how do I create a substitute that doesn't depreciate my energy? How do I create a substitute that doesn't depreciate my energy for focus? Because I don't want fear to focus me, right? I want something pragmatic to focus me, something that creates habits and discipline. So what I have done to do that is what I told you to do, which is lower the bar, right? Because the human body is going to resist trying to do something every day. I have a challenge to people, and I'll give the same thing to you. If any of you, and I'll give you my cell phone number, or DM me, it's easier. If any of you can DM me a thumbs up, a thank you, that you said thank you for 30 straight days, I'll coach you for free for a month. Right? I charge thousands of dollars. Why can I do that? Because I know out of a crowd of 10,000 people, about 10 won't forget one day. They can't do something for 30 straight days, even though it literally takes a tenth of a second to DM me a thumbs up or a prayer sign or thank you.
But I have a program to do that.
Yeah, right. That's the problem. You do have a program, and then use it. Right? That's great. Use every program, because the key to life is two things: productivity, how much value are you providing, and accessibility. Accessibility is a duality. How accessible am I to others, and how do I access what I want? The mechanism that I use to do are those two questions, right? How can I be of service, value? What can I do for you? How can I help you? Whatever. And also, do you know anyone that can help me? That's the accessibility and productivity all combined. I study my calendar. Right? If you're going to ask me for the best advice, regardless of your specific questions, which I'm happy to answer, I would say study your calendar. Don't look at your calendar. I'm talking about every day. Study what you're doing in person, on the phone, via email, media. Study what you're doing, not only with the time that you're doing it. I institute things like 5-20 rule. I try to keep every phone call to 5 minutes, every meeting to 20 as an objective. I think you're visiting with people if you go more than 20 minutes in a meeting. Now, are there exceptions? Yes. Does that apply to my family? No. Are there times when I want to visit? Yes. I schedule that because I study my calendar. But two things that I do different is I study it with a lens of productivity and accessibility. So I literally quantify in my mind, how much value am I going to bring and what am I going to ask for in this meeting? Then I also study the free time, the white space in my calendar. Same thing, how can I be more productive? So if I have a free space like I did there, I'm going to go purposefully sit into the speaker's lounge, initially walk through and look to see who I want to ask, right? Find those people. Like, do I do it all the time? No, but then more importantly than the free space or calendar, study sleep. Every single one of us do one thing religiously. We sleep. Sleep is the most productive and accessible thing you can do subconsciously and unconsciously. Most of us, it's about a third of our lives. Third of your entire life. But yet most of us don't spend any time studying it, thinking about it, getting better at it, productive and accessible with it. If you don't have a sleep mentor, you're making a huge mistake. If you're not reading, when I say mentor, I mean, to pay Dr. Mita like I did to, teach me about sleep. Go to sleep studies and fill yourself. Go online. Read articles on sleep. Start figuring out how you can harness true power while your body is resting. Allow the other things to work. With that philosophy, study that calendar, make it a habit. In my office, I teach studying my calendar, and I literally still would say the one thing in my life I could do better that would have the most exponential results would be to study my calendar. As much as I know it, believe it, I still can even miss a day where I look at my calendar, but I don't study it. And I find out the cool thing about at least trying to have the habit of every day is when you don't do it, that's where you really see the value, because you're like, just like the ask and attract model, when you don't do it, you're like, shit, how much money, I put it into quantitative terms. Think about how much money would someone pay to have a sit down with Uber CTO for 10 minutes? And how prepared would you be if you flew all the way across country to go meet with them, which tons of people do. They pay a sales force to get you in front of there, and the executives all fly in, wear their suits, go out to lunches and stay at hotels just for 15 minutes with the dude. I just had it, but I blew it. And you're blowing it every day too.
What's your best advice on this sleeping thing?
Sleeping, so it's several. So sleeping to me, number one, supposedly the best temperature is between 64 and 67 Fahrenheit. You could convert it to Celsius. It's cold. 64 to 67 Fahrenheit. It's pretty cold. You should sleep at that temperature. You also shouldn't do anything mentally stimulating in bed, right? You don't want to study in bed. You don't want to do your Excel sheets in bed. You literally want to condition that bed to be like meditation. It's the place where you're going to evolve subconsciously and unconsciously. I program myself before I go to sleep. I also live my life. Today I'm living my life so that I wake up tomorrow at 4, knowing that if I wake up tomorrow at 4, most likely the human body, no matter what I'm doing, will be exhausted by 11 at the latest. So I pass out. I passed out last night with my phone in my hand. My wife said, it was incredible. You literally were sleeping and you didn't even wake up when I took your phone from you and laid you down. I have passed out standing up where he's like looking at me going, Dave. So I live my life to expend all of my energy in the most efficient, effective, and statistically successful way. It's a lot easier to sleep and get into a better state of mind if you're completely exhausted. Program your mind before you go to bed, have gratitude as your thoughts. I literally am like a 5-year-old. I will list out at night. I don't watch CNN, I don't watch The Housewives, I don't watch negative energy. If I'm gonna watch something, it's mindless, just so this will be a piece, and I'll just start listing out how grateful I am for all these things. Those are the last thoughts that are usually going through my mind before I pass out. Meditate every morning, 20 minutes. Every morning for me. I don't, but I know people, it's fine.
It's also like for calming your mind.
Yeah, well, because you're at peace. I think the gratitude prayer mantra that I do is a form of shorter meditation. The meditation that I practice is theta meditation, so it raises my vibration. So I would have to have a second meditative practice, because the last thing you want to do before you go to sleep is elevate the vibration of my cells, my mind, and my soul. My philosophy about vibration is that you can only be aware of that which vibrates equal to or less than you. So for me, the highest state of meditation is that which, when I'm inspired, so the earth vibrates the slowest, plants, animals, humans, sound, light, thought. The thought that vibrates the highest, truth. My whole life is based upon my definition of happiness, which is, can I enjoy the consistent, everyday, persistent, without quit pursuit of my truth, my potential. So whatever it be, a father, a son, a business person, a mentor, I want to pursue my potential. Now, I joke around, but in America, I played American football in college, and I was an average college football player. But in my life, it may be one of the closest times I've ever come to my potential. Like I worked so hard since I was 7 years old to be really good, but I only had so much potential, where there's tons of guys that wouldn't have to try. You can pick and choose what you want to pursue, but when you're in the pursuit, you're happy, you're connected. You cannot be pursuing something without inspiration. So you want to stay in the state of pursuit. You want to be very conscious about the energy and resistance and voids and shortages and obstacles that you're truly manifesting for yourself, especially in business. Money is an energy. There's two currencies of the world. Money, so if you go all the way back to Sanskrit and study, first thing it says is we live at this vibration. Meaning, this is your embodiment, this world. The currency of this world is money. The currency, it won't buy you happiness, but it allows you to shop, and if you shop for the right things, it'll make you happy. Same thing in business. But if you don't understand, money is an object of energy which you put into the flow. If I put my black card into Amazon, the flow will come back. whether it's 2 hours, 2-day shipping, or 20-day shipping. It depends. The universe works the same way. What people don't understand, the currency of the universe, which is far more powerful than money, is faith. Not in a religious context, unless you're religious, it's fine. But faith is everything aggregated that you think, you say, you do, you believe, and then we have unconscious competencies of our personality traits, characteristics, obsessions, and addictions that are carried in a technology called DNA. It's a code. You can't change. You can activate and deactivate DNA, but you can't change your DNA. So we want to activate through consistent, persistent behavior the personality traits, characteristics, obsessions, and addictions that are geared to the potential of what we want. And then the second one is just the energy that we carry is an unconscious competency that actually can attract without our knowledge. Right? Some people, you're like, how the hell is that guy or woman so lucky? Because they're carrying an energy. Just the same way some people will never break through because they're carrying that energy. They literally are a thermostat. If they go too high, they'll go right reset. If they go too low, they'll also reset. It's an energy that you carry. It's why if you can understand and really develop the sense of what your energy you're carrying, like the 120 value, you can literally attract what you want and be one of those people I was like, he's so lucky, she's so lucky. It's not luck. It's the understanding the faith. When I say I put faith, everything I think, say, do, believe, my unconscious competencies are all directed to what I want. And I know this about what I want too. The only thing I want is lessons, right? The only thing this life is going to provide you is lessons, and the lessons keep coming. And if the same lessons keep coming, they're going to keep coming until you learn the lesson. So if you see the same lessons, then really get focused in on that lesson and learn it so it stops coming. But the lessons will keep coming. And here's the nuance that nobody thinks about with lessons. And this is where technology is so good. And it applies to your business because you can apply all this to a customer. I can teach my customers lessons. I can get them into the practice and habitual behavior of spending their money with me. But here's the thing about people. Number one, no matter what lessons you've learned, you're going to forget it at some time. Pick up the trash, make your bed, say thank you. Open a door for someone, smile. It's easier to be positive than negative. Let it go. Whatever the lessons are, millions of lessons that we've learned, you always will forget them at one time or another. So you need to be cognizant of that. Combined with the second thing about lessons, and this is for your clients as well, your potential customers as well. Even though we will always forget every lesson that we've learned at one time or another, we have the capability of remembering every lesson. And it's easier to remember the lessons today than ever before because we can have a system to remember the lesson. We can have access to remember the lesson that we learned. We can put up videos to remember the lesson we learned. We have access like we never had before. So all of the lessons, in fact, part of the reason I know the mentoring session kind of went astray offside the pragmatic is that I believe by teaching you this stuff, the other stuff will be easier for you to get to. All right. Pragmatic questions as well.
Do you have any advice for how to manage your time with family or friends?
Yeah, I do. It's a little bit different. So, first of all, you have personal values, experiential values, giving values, and receiving values. They should not be 25% every day, right? You need to prioritize what you prioritize. Number one thing I prioritize in my life is my health. So starting a couple years ago, a minimum of 1 hour a day, I focus in on my health as a priority. I will miss going out with my kids. I'll miss doing something at work. That comes first, my health. Family. I strengthen all my relationships through the consistent connection to my family. So what do? My wife every day gets a minimum of 30 minutes of my attention. Phone, FaceTime, email, text, in person, minimum every day, no matter what. Right after my hour of health, I make sure no matter what. My 9-year-old son, 30 minutes minimum, 7 days a week. So there's 2 hours of my day. 2 hours of my day is focused on my health and the two most relative people in my life for my time. Just because I want to spend the rest of my life with my wife, and my son's only 9. So he wants to be connected to me, where my 3 teenage daughters get 2 minutes a day, every day, and I bargained, I wanted 5. They gave me 2. But my relationships exponentially grow. My mom gets 1 minute a day, simply to make sure she knows I love and appreciate her. But my relationship with my mom, these relationships will bring you power. they'll give you a source of confidence, which then, right, keeps your energy at a certain level. So yes, the family relationships, and you pick how much time you're willing to dedicate to your family, but do it every day. 2 minutes of meditation is worth more than an hour on a Saturday. 6 minutes a day with your son is worth more than 6 hours on a Saturday, if you do 6 minutes a day every day. This is, for me, essential. Then I do the same thing with getting stuff done, right? I start prioritizing action items. The other thing that I do as a pragmatic piece of advice is I have a do it now strategy. So anyone asks me to do something, the first thing in my head is, can I do it now? Because if you can do something right now, it saves you minimum twice as much time, and you're so much more statistically successful. If you can't do it now, you should have a system in place to put everything you can't do now in a do it now folder, and constantly go in your calendar and make this do it now folder time, and prioritize by importance, not urgency. Urgency is a component of what's important. It's not the end all. Too many people, they allow things to become urgent that have no importance at all. You watch someone be interrupted by, at work when they're in the middle of something that seems like the water cooler is broken. That's not important. It's urgent, but I've seen, leaders of businesses in the middle of really important things get up, get distracted, because it starts tinkering with the water cooler.
How do you fight procrastination?
How do I fight procrastination? So I don't fight procrastination, right? I literally, I stop, drop, and roll. So procrastination is an ego-based consciousness decision. So here's the way I see ego. When you're acting, thinking, saying, doing, believing in ego, you're on fire. Your brain's on fire, your body's on fire, your soul's on fire. So what do you do if you're on fire? You stop, you drop, and you roll, right? Everybody remember, you catch on fire? Stop, drop, and roll. So I stop. When I procrastinate, I stop. That seems counterintuitive.
No. I mean, you have to do a certain task, and you really don't want to do it.
Oh, I do it every day. If I really don't want to do something, I lower the bar and do it every day. So if I have a task to do that's due a month from now or 2 weeks from now or on Friday, and I don't want to do it, number one, I'll usually ask myself why, and then I'll try to infuse purpose into it and change it in my mind. Change your mindset, change your life. So I used to give an example, taking out the trash. Used to hate it, and for some reason, I used to call it bad trash karma. 6 kids in my family, 5 boys. I always had to take the trash. Fraternity, trash. 3 girls, trash. Finally, I hated it.
So you just do it, right?
So now I volunteer, right? Why? Because in my mindset, I said, what can I do with trash that would help me? You know what? My life's chaotic. I have so much activity and stimulus. What if I use that as meditation time? Whenever I saw trash, I'm going to take a 3-minute break, and I'm going to think about what I want. Literally use it as my focus time to stop during the day, breathe, and just think about what I want. Not what all of you want, not the giving, humanitarian, just what do I want, and I breathe. And now my energy towards the trash to change. I infuse purpose and passion into it. That's why I tell people in business, don't give me the bullshit that you love what you do. Nobody, my wife always says, you're so lucky because you always love what you do. No, I learned to love what I'm doing. No matter what it was, I love to sell legal research online. I love making $1 million 9 months out of law school. I love that. But that came because I focused in on one thing. I wanted money. I wanted to be profitable. I'll infuse my purpose and passion because I can't give what I don't have, including forgiveness, including gratitude. All these things come through me, not for me, and definitely not to me. I'm never a victim. I don't even believe things come for me anymore. That's the optimistic view. I believe my value in life is that everything comes through me. Number one, I appreciate it with gratitude. Then I appreciate it by adding value to it and giving it away. Expanding my own vessel so I can have more. And I live in a world of more than enough. I have very little fear, because if fear exists, I stop, drop, and roll. Right? I don't allow it, because it's just going to, if you look at how void, shortages, and obstacles and resistance created in your business, is okay, I'm on a direct trajectory, ego gets in the way, it's like going down the wrong street. Here's the problem with ego. Fear is an accelerator, right? Accelerates focus. So anger, anxiety, all those things accelerate it. That's why we end up so far off, and then all this stuff in between's a void. It's a shortage, it's a resistance. So if you start feeling this way, oh my God, I don't have enough money, I'm not gonna be in business tomorrow, right? We all been there, and then you're not sleeping, you're not doing. Instead, just say, hold on a second. I control everything, stop. This is fine, let me think about why this is to my advantage. How do I make this to my advantage? Right? Everything happens in the right way at the perfect time in my life. I can take any one of my situations, including losing everything, and why that ended up being a huge advantage in my life. Just right here.
Because for you, it's pretty much all about mindset. Because for you, blowing up opportunity right now, it will create you even bigger preparation. So in the future, you'll meet even bigger people, so you know that you will not blow it up.
Yeah.
So this is how you think, because other people think it's, oh fuck, I blew up, I suck at this, you know,
No, it's a lesson.
It's all about what's here.
It's a lesson. It's just prepare me. It's a butterfly, how it breaks out of a cocoon. If it doesn't break out of the cocoon by itself, it won't fly. If you cut a hole in a cocoon, it's gonna die, right? We get stronger. And think about this, when you give something away, and at its core, this is something I don't talk about a lot, but when you give something away, it strengthens you. Let me tell you why I know that.
That's the core of what I do. Just give maximum amount of value. And
For sure.
for me, I never think getting back.
Yeah.
I just give everything.
Yeah, and the only difference, because that's where I used to be too, I think about receiving too. Only because if I receive more, I can give more. And that changed the energy of like only being giving, because if you keep giving, you're not gonna have anything to give. I give so I can receive more, to give more, to receive more, to give more, to receive more. So I get excited about, which also gives me confidence to ask that question, do you know anyone that can help me? Or confidently tell you a price. You know, I have one of my executive coaching clients pays me $50,000 a month. And I will tell you that he should be paying me more. Because I only coach people month to month and guarantee I'm a profit center. Well, billionaires, not only, you know, that percentage-wise is far less than anyone else is paying, but more importantly, every month I make them so much more. Where like there's some people, you know, pay me $1,000 a month and may make $2,000 or $3,000 from my help, which is fine, but nothing compared to the guy paying me that much. You know, and I use it in negotiation. I guarantee everything I do, because in the end, if somebody's not receiving the value, then I don't want it. And that's the way Nordstrom's was built. That was the way so many different companies were built, on just a guarantee of value. And they trusted it, and they grew. Yeah. Any more questions? They're good questions.
Elizabeth, you didn't ask anything.
I haven't asked anything, no.
But you took all the notes. You're the only one that's smart.
Yeah.
Yeah, everyone else will forget everything. They're going to ask me for the video to remember. You have it written down. Any other questions? Let me try to think of the...
Question
Yes.
about like your customer, if the success of your customer is your success.
Correct.
There are a lot in sales. So what do you think we should watch out for, or what we think we should do more to really
So
make that?
you have several customers. You have, I call it by relativity. So my customers start with those most relative to me. So my family. These are all customers, and because my life. So there's no work. First of all, let me change this rule for you. From today on, you guys don't work. Change your life. There's activity you get paid for, and activity you don't get paid for.
Okay.
You get to do everything in your life. If somebody bleeds you, a customer, get rid of it. If it feeds you, feed it. Elevate those to elevate others, to elevate yourself. Feed the people that feed you. Just keep these simple things in mind. Now, as I go down my customer list, from my wife to my children to my other relatives to my business, to my community, to the country and the world, those are all my customers, right? I want to provide them value, and literally, I start by saying, are they feeding me? There's too many people out there to waste time on it. So, my employees, am I feeding my employees? Am I feeding the ones that are feeding me? Am I letting the other ones fall away? I used to waste so much energy trying to fix an employee situation. Like I would have to be his mom for the next 30 years to fix the problem. Help, but I don't fire people. I literally tell them, this isn't a good fit, let me help you find something that is. Within my organization or without, it doesn't matter to me, because I know that's how I create that flow of value. Customers the same way. Customers, it's all about, do they feel they got more value than they gave you? You always feel good about it. And it's all emotional. People buy on emotion for logical reasons. Why, sometimes I pay more and I'm like, oh, great branding, but emotional, restaurants. I went to 2 Michelin restaurants while I was here. The first one that I went to, it wasn't expensive, but it wasn't, as a customer, it was like, why did that have a Michelin star? It devalued the Michelin rating to me. Right? Because it was like, this is just a marketing tool. Why would they give this to regular noodles? I could get this at the airport better. Then the second one I went to, I was a customer again, met my expectations, right? Different types of food, different taste of it, the quality of the service. It's like staying at the St. Regis Hotel compared to staying at another hotel. I can't go to the elevator without someone walking me to the elevator, pressing the button for me, knowing my name with their earpieces in. Things that really don't cost that much more, but they can charge 3-4 times more for a room. And guess what? My wife and I both, she's sitting there going, we're only staying at St. Regis when they have those. This is amazing. Now, I'm paying 4 times, it should be a lot more amazing. But emotionally, they know how to make me feel good.
Okay, what do you feel about having expectations?
Having expectations? So my expectation is always acceleration and growth. So I don't attach my emotions, my emotional expectation to an end.
You just said, like, with Michelin star, you were disappointed and you were happy.
Yeah.
But then why should one even have expectations? Because when you don't have expectations, you will be always happy. It doesn't matter on outcome.
Correct. Right. No, you're exactly right. That's in a perfect world. We should not have expectations. But luckily, everyone lives at this vibration. Okay. And so we have consumers at this vibration that we want to make money off of so we can expand and accelerate. Let me talk about expansion and acceleration real quick too. So, because very, very important as a startup, because I see too many people quit. 99% of all businesses don't last more than a year because of acceleration and growth. Here's what happens, and I'll take Bezos as an example. 10 years into Amazon, Bezos was about 25% of the way there. Now, if he didn't have a shitload of funding, right, he probably would have been frustrated in his family and everyone would be like, you're wasting your time. This globalization distribution center is never going to happen. You're a book salesman. You're right. And this happens to so many people. And here's what sucks the most. 10 years into it, 25% of the way there, you seriously are accelerating and growing. But we don't realize it in our head. 10 years, because you started when you were 21 and now you're 31 years old, you're married, your spouse is telling you they need more money, want to have babies, whatever it is, there's a ton of resistance and pressure. Here's the sad part. In those 10 years, most people quit. Those that survive, there's another high percentage that goes another 5 years. So now you're 36 years old and now your parents are in on the scene because they want grandkids and you're living in a little house and you're sleeping on a food side, who knows? But you're 50% of the way there. Now, out of that 1%, like 90-some% of the 1% quit in the next 5 years. Here's what's sadder. They don't recognize they're exponentially growing and accelerating, so they don't realize that by 38 and a half, 2.5 years from now, they'll be 100% of the way there. At 100% of the way there, all your family, friends, associates, everyone respects you and thinks you're so lucky. Overnight success. Most people tell you overnight success, like all the businesses, I did this for 17 years, 18 years, 16 years. But now you're like the hero to everyone. But meanwhile, if they just would have focused on acceleration and exponential growth, here's the sadder thing. 2.5 years, right? 38 and a half. In a year and a quarter, before you're 40, you're 39 3/4, you're 200% of the way there. Now, not only does everyone think you're lucky, but you're rich. And guess what happens in just 3/4 of a year after that for your 40th birthday? 400% of the way there. Then comes 800, then comes 1600. Pretty soon, you're 100 billionaire like our friend Jeff in 25 years. That's what happened. So you have to believe and focus in on, okay, am I accelerating and growing? Now, if you're not accelerating and growing, right, you're bleeding, you gotta kill it. You gotta kill it. Okay, we gotta wrap it up. Okay.
How do you handle all those anxiety? You know what I mean? The anxiety when you work on it.
Oh, anxiety, I stop, drop, and roll. No. Anxiety is a wasted emotion. Worry is a wasted emotion. What's that gonna do? It's gonna create resistance. You're gonna attract more of what you don't want. Put faith in what you want, you'll get what you want. If you put faith in what you don't want, anxiety, fear, all those things that you're worried about, you're attracting it to you. You're actually putting action towards what you don't want. Instead of sitting there and thinking of the solutions, saying, you know what, I'm just going to give this 5 minutes a day and watch what happens. When you're putting focus for 5 minutes a day, you're focusing on acceleration and growth, not on the resistant void shortages and obstacles.